I'd been married to Celeste for 5 years, and not once had she taken me home to meet her family. She said it was because I came from the countryside, too plain, too humble, too beneath her. But after 7 relentless years of building our startup together, after pouring everything we had into it until it finally went public, she changed her tune. That year, she finally agreed to let me spend Christmas at her parents' home. She said it was time I met the family. I showed up with a bottle of vintage red, heart pounding with anticipation. For once, I felt like maybe I finally made it in her world. Instead, I walked straight into a nightmare. She was standing on a stage, champagne dress clinging to her curves, the dress I had picked out for her myself. But she wasn't wearing it for me. She had her arm looped through another man's. And then, with a dazzling smile, she announced to the crowd, "Everyone, meet my fiancé, Tyler, the only son of Bayfield's richest man." Applause roared like thunder. Gasps. Laughter. Cheers. Bayfield's richest man? Everyone knew he had only one son. Tyler. If he's the son of the city's wealthiest family, then who the hell am I? I stumbled back. The gift box slipped from my hands, the wine shattering on the stone tiles. Crimson liquid snaked across the ground like blood. Fiancé? But Celeste is my wife. My legal wife. The moment Celeste saw me, her perfectly made-up face drained of color. Her deep red lipstick, so bold just seconds ago, now trembled on her lips. "Rowan," she stammered. "What are you doing here?" I didn't answer right away. My eyes locked on hers, my voice low and steady. "What am I doing here? You told me today was the day I'd finally meet your parents." I could still hear her voice from the company's IPO afterparty, the way she wrapped her arms around my neck, whispering into my ear. "Hand over your shares, and I promise, you'll meet my family this Christmas." God, I was so excited. And now here she was, in a wedding dress. Standing next to someone else. Beneath the floral arch hung a banner in gold script. Tyler and Celeste, engagement party. Celeste bit her lip, at a loss for words. Tyler stepped forward before she could speak. His smirk was sharp as glass. He slid an arm possessively around her waist, his rose-gold cufflink catching on the delicate bracelet she wore, the one I'd seen in our bedroom drawer just a week ago. "Assistants these days really don't know their place," he sneered. His voice was arrogant, polished, smug. "Who just walks into the boss's house without an invitation?" He looked down on me like I was something sticky on the bottom of his shoe. But I didn't flinch. I narrowed my eyes, staring at the Rolex on his wrist. I knew that watch. I'd seen it while cleaning the closet, thought it was a surprise gift. An anniversary present from Celeste. Something she was saving. Turns out, she was. Just not for me. "What the hell are you doing here, making a scene?" Celeste straightened her posture and gave me a cold glance, her voice crisp and cutting. "You want to get fired? Keep it up, I'll make sure you're out by Monday." She caught on quickly to what Tyler wanted. But I wasn't just some assistant she could threaten like that. When we first founded the company, I put up half the capital. I hustled for clients, brokered deals, flew coast to coast for meetings, poured everything into building that business with her. If it weren't for me, that company wouldn't have survived, let alone gone public. And the night we rang the bell on the NASDAQ, she looked me in the eyes and said, "If you really love me, transfer your shares to me. That'll prove it. And I swear, this Christmas, I'll take you home to meet my parents." I didn't hesitate. I signed everything over. Now here she was, dressed like a bride, claiming someone else as her fiancé, and trying to erase me from the company and her life like I never existed. She wasn't just hiding our marriage. She was cutting me out of everything. My chest tightened, a cold weight sinking through me like I'd stepped into ice water. Then came the voice, sharp, dry, dismissive. "Oh, this must be the assistant," said a middle-aged woman with perfectly styled chestnut hair. Her tone was dripping with disdain. "Kitchen's still short one helper. You want $200 for 3 hours? Go wash up." She didn't even look me in the eye. Just one glance, like I was a nuisance, an uninvited guest looking for free champagne. That had to be Marjorie, Celeste's mother. And clearly, she thought I was just another broke staffer hoping to crash the party. Celeste shot me a contemptuous glance, her voice tight with irritation barely held in check. "With your background? You're not even qualified to wait tables, let alone be here." Her lip curled as she hissed. "Who invited you to my engagement party? Get out. Now." Dozens of heads turned all at once. A hush fell over the room as eyes shifted from her, to me. I held my ground and let out a low, cold laugh. Then pointed straight at Tyler. "You married me, Celeste. And now you're announcing an engagement to your assistant?" The room went dead silent. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Chews were abandoned mid-bite. It was as if the air itself had stopped moving. "Married?" Someone whispered. "What the hell's he talking about? Celeste's fiancé is right there. Who is this guy?" The confusion was palpable. They didn't know, of course they didn't know. Celeste and I had only signed the paperwork. No wedding. No rings. No photos. No announcement. She'd always told me her family wouldn't approve. That they lived in a small, conservative town. That I was too much like them, also from a nowhere little town, a face they'd never take seriously. But she promised. "Once we go public, once we make it big, I'll take you home. We'll do it right. My parents will have no choice but to accept you." I believed her. So I pushed. I bled for that company. I pulled all-nighters, chased down every lead, brokered deals even when I was running on fumes. I drank through dinners, flew coach red ice across the country, pushed my body so far I landed in the ER with bleeding ulcers. All to get us to the finish line. And when we finally crossed it, when the company did go public, she said this Christmas would be it. I'd meet her parents. After that day, I couldn't reach her again. She vanished, blocked my number, ignored every email. Christmas was closing in, and with nowhere else to turn, I tracked down her hometown address and made the trip myself. This disaster, was what I walked into. Celeste's expression twisted the moment I called her out. The panic flashed in her eyes, but it disappeared just as quickly, replaced by a sharp, mocking smirk. "Are you out of your damn mind?" She snapped. "Married to you? What are you, delusional?" Tyler stepped forward instantly, puffed up with smug authority, his voice loud and dripping with condescension. "A low-level assistant barges in here like a rabid dog, yelling nonsense. What, you think your boss is your wife? You serious?" He scoffed. "Losers love their little fantasies. Maybe check a mirror before you start spinning that crap." The crowd, stunned moments before, suddenly found their voice. And just like that, the room erupted. "You kidding me? Crashing the mayor's daughter's engagement party? Guy must have a death wish. Look at him, like a stray mutt off the street. Celeste wouldn't give him the time of day." Exactly. Her fiancé is the heir to Bayfield's biggest fortune. We're talking billions. And this clown thinks she married him? The laughter was loud, ugly. They weren't just calling me a liar. They were tearing me apart, like I was a joke that had wandered into the wrong fairy tale. But the truth? The truth was standing right there in a champagne-colored dress, lying through her teeth. The jeers around me grew sharper, louder, like knives thrown from every direction. "Get lost already. No one wants your drama. Seriously, look at you, you think you're good enough for Celeste?" I didn't respond. I kept my eyes locked on her, my voice low and steady. Give me one reason. One explanation. Celeste's gaze flickered, just for a second, and then hardened. She let out a cold, cruel laugh. Explanation, she sneered. Fine. Remember how you were nothing but a homeless drifter loitering outside our office building? A fresh round of murmurs rippled through the crowd. She kept going, voice sharp as a blade. If it hadn't been for Tyler, if he hadn't taken pity on you and let you in, you'd still be sleeping on the streets, begging for food. And now you show up here, lying through your teeth, lusting after me like some pathetic stalker? Disgusting. Her words were gasoline, and the crowd lit the match. Oh, so he's not just broke, he's a freeloader and a pervert. No shame at all. Jesus. And to think Drake's the one investing in our town's tourism expansion, someone spat. And this piece of trash is trying to steal his fiancée? Buddy, you better ask our fists if that's okay first. A low, dangerous rumble came from the front row. A group of broad-shouldered men rolled up their sleeves in unison, eyes locked on me, faces tight with menace. They weren't just ready to kick me out. They looked ready to drag me out, bloody, if they had to. With the crowd now firmly behind her, Celeste stood taller, her voice sharper, colder. Tyler could have taken over his family empire any time, she said loudly, letting her words carry. But he chose to humble himself, start at the bottom, work as my VP, learn the business firsthand. And thanks to him, I succeeded. Thanks to him, I was able to pay your salary. So don't get it twisted. She stepped forward, eyes gleaming with cruelty. You should be grateful. Now get on your knees and apologize, to the son of Bayfield's wealthiest man. She had lied. Betrayed me. Rewritten history. And now she was switching our roles, pretending he was the one who built the company, while I was just another desperate nobody who got lucky. I should have never let someone like Tyler in the door. He straightened his collar and looked at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. I swallowed hard, my voice rough with bitterness as I looked at Celeste. So this is it, I said quietly, eyes locked on hers. You're really choosing him. She let out a harsh laugh. What, you thought I'd end up with you? You're a nobody, Rowan. A joke. What kind of fantasy world are you living in? She tightened her grip on Tyler's arm like she was staking a claim. Fine. Let them have each other. Still standing there? Tyler snapped. On your knees. Or do I need to make you? I inhaled deeply, slow and deliberate, then turned to him. My smile was cold. Voice calm. Even. But it cut through the room like a blade. You said you're the son of Bayfield's richest man? I dragged out the question, savoring every syllable. My gaze locked on his with quiet amusement, like I knew a secret the room didn't. The tension shifted, subtle, electric. And for the first time, Tyler blinked. Tyler lifted his chin with smug pride. Of course I am. Bayfield's richest man, Richard Drake, has only one son. Who else could it be? I let out a laugh, quiet, cold. Then stepped forward, closing the distance between us. I looked him dead in the eye. Voice calm. Measured. But laced with something sharp and ice-cold beneath the surface. You're right, I said. He only has one son. A pause. Then I tilted my head slightly, my words slicing through the silence like a razor. And that son, is me. The room froze. Utter silence. Dozens of faces stared at me in stunned disbelief. Eyes wide. Jaws slack. The air turned thick, heavy, like time itself had stopped. Tyler's smirk faltered. Then vanished entirely. A tick twitched at the corner of his mouth. Because he knew I wasn't bluffing. My father is Richard Drake, the wealthiest man in Bayfield. But when I first met Celeste, she told me the one kind of man she despised most was a trust fund brat. She said she only respected people who built everything from nothing. So I lied. Told her I was from some backwoods town. Said I scraped my way up, just like her. When my father found out about her, he was furious. Said she was using me. Manipulative. Opportunistic. That she'd never be welcome in our family. I didn't listen. We fought. I packed my bags. I told him I wouldn't come home until he accepted her. And to keep the lie alive, to stay believable, I buried my last name, cut ties, and went all in. All for her. All so we'd be equals. And now? Now she stood there, clinging to another man's arm, looking down on me for being exactly what I pretended to be. Poor. Ordinary. Forgettable. The irony stung like fire in my throat. Celeste stared at me for a long moment, then burst out laughing. It wasn't nervous or confused. It was loud, mocking, like I'd just told the punchline to the most ridiculous joke she'd ever heard. You, she scoffed. You really think you can pretend to be Tyler? Do you even hear yourself? God, look at you. Tyler let out a sharp laugh and stormed toward me. Before I could react, his hand whipped across my face, hard. The slap rang out like a gunshot. My ears buzzed. My jaw stung with heat. You out of your damn mind, he spat. Just because we share a last name, you think you can steal my identity? His eyes burned with hatred. You think a backwoods nobody like you can pass as the heir to Bayfield's empire? You're out of your league. The crowd lost it. Laughter exploded all around us. Oh man, if he's the richest guy's kid, I must be the freakin' president. Yeah, right. Who let him out of the psych ward? Is this some kind of prank show? Where are the cameras? I clenched my fists so tightly my knuckles ached. My face throbbed, but I didn't back down. I stared straight at Tyler, my expression cold and unflinching. He flinched. For a second, he thought I was going to hit him. And like the coward he was, he ducked behind Celeste, pathetic and panicked. Celeste instantly threw herself in front of him like he was something precious. Her expression twisted with disgust as she looked at me. You think you can touch my fiancé? She snapped. Let me be perfectly clear, don't bother showing up at work again. You're done. I'll make sure HR terminates you first thing tomorrow. She said it like a final sentence. Like I was trash being taken out. And she didn't even blink. No sooner had the words left Celeste's mouth than her father, Howard, stormed up to the stage, flanked by several burly men with sleeves rolled and fists clenched. Without a word, they grabbed me. Piece of shit, Howard growled. You think you can ruin my daughter's engagement and walk away? You think no one's gonna put you in your place? Another man snapped. Before I could resist, they shoved me to the floor. Then the kicks came. Hard. Brutal. Relentless. A blow to the gut knocked the wind out of me. Another to my ribs. Then another. Pain exploded through my body like fire. I curled in on myself, sweat pouring down my face, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. No one stopped them. No one even flinched. They watched. Entertained. Laughing. God, I hate fake tough guys. Teach him a lesson. Serves him right. Impersonating the richest man's son. He got off easy. I clenched my jaw through the agony, forcing myself to lift my head. Blood pounded in my ears. My vision blurred. But I looked Howard dead in the eye and gritted through my teeth. You're all going to regret this. Howard just sneered, full of contempt. Then spit, right in my face. Regret? He said with a laugh. Tyler's the son of Bayfield's wealthiest man. You're nothing. Dirt. Take your backwoods ass and crawl back to wherever you came from. You're not even worth the dust on my shoes. Then. A voice. Loud. Sharp. From outside the banquet hall. Whose Rolls-Royce is blocking the street? Move it now. You're holding up traffic. For a beat, the room froze. The chatter stopped. The music paused. Dozens of heads turned toward the entrance. I lay there on the floor, one arm clutching my bruised abdomen. And with the last ounce of strength I had, I lifted my head, looked toward the door, and said, low and steady. It's mine. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. The silence shattered. Exploded into laughter. People doubled over, clutching their sides. He probably rented a used Rolls just for the drama. Or borrowed it from a dealer. You think a guy like him can afford that? They were wrong. The Rolls-Royce wasn't mine. It belonged to Richard. My father. These past few years, age had softened him. The stubborn pride that once built an empire had finally started to crack. And just last week, after years of fighting me over Celeste, he finally gave in. I'd planned to spend Christmas at her house, then bring her to the family estate for dinner the next day. Introduce her as my wife. Officially. But that plan? That was over now. Click. Click. Celeste's heels echoed as she strutted toward me, cool, poised, every step a statement. She stopped in front of me, smiled sweetly. Then slammed her heel down on my pinky finger. A sickening crunch. Pain ripped through me like lightning. I gasped, forehead slick with cold sweat. She leaned in, voice sugar-coated and venom-laced. So that's what gave you the nerve to show your face, she purred. You rented a luxury car to play pretend. Adorable. She laughed, her eyes gleaming with cruelty. The things people will do for attention these days. From behind her, Tyler's voice cut through the air, loud and smug. You're honestly the most pathetic fake I've ever seen. The room howled with laughter again. Oh man, for a second I thought he was somebody. Big shot from the sticks, driving borrowed wheels, looking like a wannabe mob boss. If he can afford a Rolls, then Bayfield must be crawling with billionaires. Tyler swaggered up beside her, arms crossed, chin high, eyes full of triumph. He looked down at me like I was something rotting on the sidewalk. Like this was over. Like he'd won. You idiot, Tyler sneered, eyes gleaming with menace. You think driving a fancy car covers up the stink of poverty? You still reek of it. He leaned in closer, voice dropping into something darker. And if my father finds out you tried to impersonate me? He let out a slow, bitter laugh. You'll wish you were dead. I looked up at them, this perfect little performance of betrayal and smugness. My hands trembled with rage. My eyes burned red. Then, low and cold, I said. You're right about one thing. But the one wishing they were dead, won't be me. Celeste pressed her heel harder into my crushed finger. I clenched my jaw to keep from crying out. She bent down, her perfume sharp, her smile cruel and smug. And in a voice meant only for me, she whispered. Do you really think the company went public because of you? She gave a soft laugh, full of scorn. Without Tyler, we'd be nowhere. Don't ruin my future just because you can't handle the truth. Her eyes held no shame. No flicker of guilt. Just cold calculation. She paused. Her tone shifted into something darker, more threatening. When we get home, she said slowly, I'm filing for divorce. Another pause. Her smile turned razor sharp. But if you have half a brain, you'll apologize, walk out quietly, and maybe, I'll convince Tyler not to completely destroy you. Otherwise. Her voice dipped lower. You'll be crawling back to the streets, if you're lucky. A sharp pain coiled in my chest, and the taste of blood rose in my throat. I spat it out, dark, bitter, and let it hit the floor. Then met her gaze, voice hoarse but steady. "Watch me," I said. "I will make you regret every last word." Celeste pulled back, gave a lazy shrug, and laughed. Unbothered. Unmoved. Like she didn't believe a single thing I said. Celeste stood up slowly, brushing invisible dust from her skirt. Her voice was bored, lazy, but every word dripped with venom. "This filthy stray thought he could ruin my engagement party," she said with a scoff. "Dad, have your men cripple him and throw him out. Let's see if he ever dares to show his face again." Howard's jaw clenched. His expression turned lethal. He gave a subtle nod to the muscle standing nearby. "Break his legs," he said flatly. "Then drag him out. Trash like this doesn't belong here." The men cracked their knuckles in sync, grinning with cruel delight, eyes gleaming like wolves circling a wounded animal. I watched them advance, pain stabbing through every inch of my body. Gritting my teeth, I fumbled in my pocket and pulled out my phone, hands shaking. One of them saw it. Trying to call for help, he sneered. And with one brutal kick, the phone flew from my hand, skidding across the marble floor and clattering to a stop several yards away. "This isn't your world, asshole," he growled. "You don't get a say here." Two of them lunged forward to grab me. And then, a voice cut through the chaos. Low. Commanding. Thunderous. "Who dares touch my son?" The words hit the room like a shockwave. Every person froze. Heads whipped toward the entrance. A line of men in tailored black suits stepped through the doors, one after another, like a wave of precision and power. Broad shoulders, stone faces, disciplined movements. They didn't speak, but their presence roared. The entire hall fell into stunned silence. And then, at the center of them, walked a man in a charcoal bespoke suit, gold cufflinks gleaming, his every step quiet but deliberate. His expression was unreadable. But his eyes? His eyes could freeze fire. Richard Kingsford. The real patriarch of Bayfield. The most powerful man in the city. My father. My father's face was like stone. His eyes were sharp, his jaw tight, rage simmering just beneath the surface. Someone in the crowd gasped. "Oh my God, is that Mr. Kingsford? The Richard Kingsford? Bayfield's business kingpin? The man himself? Wait, he's here for his son's engagement party?" The whispers turned into stunned murmurs as eyes darted between Richard's imposing entrance and the chaos on stage. Celeste's eyes lit up with manic excitement as she turned to Tyler, gripping his arm tighter. "I thought you said your dad wasn't coming," she whispered, beaming. "This is huge." Tyler didn't respond. His face had gone ghost white. Sweat trickled down his temple. His lips trembled. But Celeste didn't notice. Behind her, Marjorie nudged him eagerly. "Well, go greet him, sweetheart. He's here for you." Howard all but bowed on the spot, grinning so hard his cheeks quivered. "Mr. Kingsford, what an honor. We never imagined you'd grace us in person." He puffed out his chest, trying to look important. No one noticed Tyler's knees shaking. Not yet. But I did. Under the pressure of everyone's expectant gaze, Tyler finally forced his feet to move. He shuffled forward, stiff as a corpse. And then, after a long pause, he mumbled. "Dad." Smack. A deafening crack echoed across the hall. Gasps rippled through the room. Tyler hit the floor hard. Richard Kingsford didn't blink. He didn't yell. He didn't explain. He simply stood there, eyes blazing, hands still raised. As the entire room realized something horrifying. Tyler wasn't his son. I was. Tyler let out a shriek of pain as he hit the floor, landing hard. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Celeste's face went pale. She rushed to his side, cradling his head in her arms, her voice trembling, tears threatening to fall. "What are you doing?" she cried out. "Why would you?" Richard turned slowly. His piercing gaze locked onto her. "You're Celeste?" he asked coldly. His voice was like steel, quiet, but full of menace. Celeste flinched, instinctively smoothing her hair, trying to gather her composure. She forced a smile. "Yes, I'm Tyler's fiancée." Bam! Before she could finish the sentence, Richard drove his foot straight into her abdomen. The impact sent her flying, like a rag doll yanked from a child's hands. She crashed to the floor with a sickening thud. "H!" she screamed, voice cracking from pain. Her strapless dress slipped in the fall, bearing a wide stretch of pale skin. "Celeste!" Marjorie's face turned white as a sheet. She scrambled forward, throwing her coat over her daughter, shielding her from view. Her eyes burned with fury and disbelief as she glared up at Richard. Behind her, Howard stumbled forward, shouting, "What the hell is wrong with you? You can't just hit someone's child like." "She's not my concern," Richard said coolly. Then he gave a small nod to his men. Smack. 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 In perfect rhythm, the guards stepped forward. One slap for each member of Celeste's family. Marjorie. Howard. Celeste. And Tyler. Each one reeled backward, stunned, faces burning red from the sting. The sound echoed through the once boisterous hall. And now? Silence. Complete. Utter. Silence. The entire room stood frozen, watching in breathless disbelief. Because in one brutal moment, the truth had arrived. No one could believe it. An entire family, slapped in public by Bayfield's wealthiest man. At their own engagement party. Richard's voice boomed through the stunned silence. "You think you people have the right to associate with my family?" He swept his eyes over them, one by one. Cold. Unforgiving. Like they were vermin. Then his gaze landed on Tyler. And he smiled. But it wasn't kind. It was venomous. "You," he said, voice like a blade. "Who the hell gave you permission to call me Dad? Who let this idiot pretend to be my son?" The room gasped. Audibly. Whispers exploded like firecrackers in every corner. "Wait, Tyler's not his son. Then who the hell is he? Wasn't he the heir this whole time?" Celeste's world began to fracture. She whipped around to face Tyler, her voice shrill, shaking. "You're not Mr. Kingsford's son." Tyler couldn't even meet her eyes. His face was chalk white. His knees buckled. With a soft thud, he collapsed to the floor, groveling at Richard's feet. "I'm sorry. Mr. Kingsford, I'm so sorry. I messed up, I was wrong, please, please forgive me." He sobbed openly. Pathetic. Exposed. Stripped bare in front of everyone. And Celeste? She stood frozen, her mind unraveling. Her world, her lies, her plans, her future, shattering into 1,000 sharp, glittering pieces. Around her, the crowd buzzed with disbelief. Then who's the real heir? Wait, could it be? Dozens of heads slowly turned, toward me. Still on the ground. Bruised. Bleeding. Humiliated. But suddenly, every eye was on me. "No way," someone whispered. "He's the real son of Kingsford? This is insane. Like, movie-level insane." And then, Richard stepped forward. Kneeling beside me. His voice broke, rough with guilt, heavy with emotion. "Rowan," he said softly, lifting me up with trembling hands. I'm sorry. I should have come sooner. That one sentence hit like thunder. Rowan. His son. The room went silent again, utterly still. No one dared breathe. The ones who had mocked me minutes ago, the men who'd kicked me, the ones who had cheered them on, began inching toward the exits, trying to disappear into the crowd. Too late. Richard's security had already sealed off the hall, forming an impenetrable wall around the perimeter. No one was leaving. My father straightened up, his arms still bracing me, and slowly swept his gaze across the room. His voice was quiet. Deadly. Who, he said, laid a hand on my son. A pause. Come forward, he added coldly. Or I'll make sure you never walk again. His words sliced through the room like a blade. No one moved. No one dared. Celeste stood frozen, her face pale as bone, eyes wide in disbelief. Richard led me past her without so much as a glance in her direction. But she reached out, voice trembling, desperate. Rowan. I stopped. Turned to her. My eyes, once soft for her, were now hollow and sharp as glass. I said nothing. Just stared. Cold. Empty. Done. Beside her, Tyler was still on his knees, face swollen, hands shaking uncontrollably. And then I spoke. My voice was low, steady, like a blade dragged across stone. Tyler, I said, tilting my head slightly. Tell me again, who's the one that's going to wish they were dead? Tyler broke. It's me. It's me, sir, he sobbed. I was wrong, I shouldn't have pretended to be you. I swear, I didn't mean, please, I'll do anything, just don't. I didn't wait for him to finish. I reached toward one of my father's guards and pulled a short blade from the holster at his side. The room gasped. I didn't hesitate. With a flick of my wrist, the blade flashed once, twice, and then slammed into the marble floor between Tyler's knees. It missed his groin by less than an inch. He screamed, not in pain, but in sheer, primal terror, as a spreading wetness soaked through his trousers. The smell of urine filled the air. People around us covered their mouths and noses, backing away. I leaned in slightly. Smiled, cold and cruel. Not just anyone, I said softly, gets to pretend to be the son of Bayfield's king. Tyler collapsed fully, forehead to the ground, sobbing so hard his words blurred. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was wrong, please. Each word came between frantic, panicked bows. His forehead slammed against the tile over and over. But it was too late. Everyone had seen the truth. And no one would forget it. Celeste was frozen in place. Her body trembled. Her hands shook uncontrollably. She looked as though the floor had vanished beneath her feet. Her lips, drained of color, parted as she forced out a broken question. You're the real heir? The Kingsford heir? Her voice cracked, laced with disbelief, rage, and something else, bitter regret. Why? Why didn't you tell me, she cried, her voice rising. If I had known, if you had just told me from the start. I turned toward her, eyes devoid of warmth. My voice was quiet. Cold as winter steel. If I'd told you, I said, I would have never known how rotten you really are. She froze. Mouth still slightly open. But no words came out. Just as you wanted, I continued, my voice steady, firm. We're getting a divorce. There was no hesitation. No second thought. Because some marriages? They're not worth the paper they're signed on. A broken umbrella offers less shelter than walking in the rain. Celeste panicked. Tears welled in her eyes and began to spill, fast, hot, and desperate. No, Rowan, please, no, she sobbed, grabbing onto my arm like her life depended on it. "I was wrong, I was stupid, I know I messed up, please, I didn't mean to, I didn't know." Her voice cracked into a scream. "I'm sorry, I swear I'm sorry, please don't leave me, please, don't do this." She collapsed into full-blown sobs, the same woman who once stood above everyone else now weeping like a child at my feet. Gone was the cold arrogance. Gone was the smug pride. All that remained was a desperate woman begging for a second chance. But my eyes held no sympathy. No pity. Only the truth. I yanked my arm free from her grip. And with finality in my voice, I said, "Celeste. We're done." Celeste's eyes darkened with desperation. Her nails dug so deep into her palms they almost broke skin. Then, suddenly, she fumbled through her purse and pulled something out with trembling hands. A document. Her voice cracked as she raised it up in front of me. "No. Rowan, you're my husband." Her hands clutched our marriage certificate like a lifeline, fingers shaking violently. "We're not getting divorced," she said, her tone spiraling into something wild and unhinged. "You're mine. You'll always be mine. No one can take you away from me." Her words hit the air like the final cry of a drowning woman. She shoved the certificate toward me, eyes clinging to the last shred of hope. I said nothing. I reached out. Took it from her hands. For a moment, her eyes lit up, just for a second. A flicker of hope. Of reconciliation. Of maybe, just maybe. Rip. The sound tore through the silence like a gunshot. In one swift motion, I ripped the marriage certificate clean in half. Then again. And again. The pieces scattered in the air, falling like brittle snow. Celeste's pupils contracted sharply. She stood frozen, mouth parted, breath caught in her throat. She'd once made me promise I would never leave her. And I had meant it. But that promise died the moment she betrayed me. The shredded paper fluttered to the ground like ash. The final remains of something once called love. Celeste collapsed to her knees, scrambling to pick up the torn fragments. Her hands trembled as she tried to fit them back together, but they were creased, ruined. Impossible to restore. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Each one fell like a drop of regret too late to matter. Her fingers scraped against the floor, clawing at what was already gone. She was utterly wrecked. Unrecognizable from the woman who once stood so high. I didn't look back. Not once. With the security team at my side, I turned toward the Rolls-Royce waiting at the curb. And walked away. The car door swung open. I was just about to step inside when a sudden bang rattled the window beside me. Howard. Wild-eyed. Desperate. He pounded on the glass with both hands, his face twisted in a panicked mix of terror and forced cheer. "Rowan. It was all a misunderstanding, I swear." His voice trembled with fear, though he tried to hide it beneath a sycophantic smile. "You and Celeste, you two were meant for each other. She's always loved you. She just got confused, made a mistake. Don't hold it against her, please." One of the guards stepped in. With a single cold shove, he sent Howard stumbling back several feet. He nearly fell. My father didn't even blink. Didn't look his way. Instead, he turned slightly to his butler and said, calmly, "Pull all funding from their town's tourism project. And as for the ones who laid hands on my son, you know what to do." The butler gave a curt nod. No emotion. No questions. Howard went pale. All the blood drained from his face. His mouth opened, but no words came out at first. Then, hoarse and shaking. "Mr. Kingsford, please, don't do this. Give us another chance. We'll fix it, I promise, we'll make it right." "Make it right?" my father said, turning his eyes on him at last. His voice was low. Flat. Lethal. You people think you're worth fixing? Disgust curled at the corner of his mouth. He turned away. Drive. The chauffeur pressed the gas. The Rolls-Royce glided forward, leaving behind only silence and a cloud of dust. And behind us, Howard stood crumbling on the curb. His world, like Celeste's, already gone. After cutting ties with Celeste, I officially took over Kingsford Industries. The moment full control was placed in my hands, I knew exactly where to start. With the company Celeste and I once built together. The same company she tried to steal from me. I cut every one of their contracts. Every project, frozen. Every handshake deal that once relied on my name. Revoked. Partners pulled out. Investors fled. Their order book emptied overnight. Cash flow dried up like a cracked riverbed. Celeste's company began to bleed. It was swift. Merciless. Like a financial tsunami, unstoppable, indiscriminate. Debt mounted. Salaries went unpaid. Inside, the team mutinied. Grumbling turned to open revolt. Their stock plummeted, day after day, bottoming out with no floor in sight. Within weeks, her empire was crumbling. She was one signature away from bankruptcy. And she knew. She knew this was me. Her calls started coming in. Once. Twice. 3 times, she came to my office. And was turned away at the door. The 4th time. I agreed to meet. She thought it meant I'd softened. She showed up with perfect makeup, wearing one of those tight, polished dresses she always chose when she wanted something. The kind that said look at me without needing to speak. She walked in smiling, confident, hopeful. But she was wrong. I reached into my drawer and placed a folder on the table. Inside, our signed divorce agreement. I slid it across the glass surface toward her without looking up. My voice was cold. Stripped bare. Like I was speaking to a stranger. Sign it. The smile fell from her face. Her hands trembled as she picked up the pages. She stared at them like they were written in another language. Rowan, you're really divorcing me? I met her gaze. Unflinching. You asked for this, I said. Now you have it. She froze for a long moment. Then, slowly, her lips trembled into a practiced pout. Her gaze softened, just like every other time she'd made a mistake and tried to win me back with a whisper and a look. Her voice turned gentle, syrupy sweet. Rowan. I know I messed up. I really, truly regret everything. You know that, right? Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, head tilted just so. I still like you. I always have. She looked at me with that same delicate vulnerability she used to rely on. The one she knew I had fallen for again and again. Because once upon a time, I would have done anything not to see her cry. But that version of me died the moment she betrayed everything we built. My face didn't move. My voice didn't waver. Sign it. Flat. Emotionless. She flinched. Her fingers stiffened over the paper, eyes darting up to me again, this time, more frantic. But that's your company too, she blurted, her voice rising, cracking. We built it together, from nothing. You're just going to stand by and let everything we worked for collapse? A bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. I leaned back in my chair. You mean the company where I gave you all my shares? I let the words land. The ones you handed over to Tyler the second you thought he was richer than me? Her face went pale. She hadn't expected that. Hadn't realized I knew. She froze, caught in the silence between us. We stared at each other, the air between us tense and brittle. Two people who once shared a dream. Now just two strangers holding the broken pieces. A flicker of defiance flashed through Celeste's eyes. Then, without warning, she reached up and slowly undid the top two buttons of her blouse. She leaned in across the desk, her dress riding just enough to reveal a smooth line of thigh. Her voice turned honey-sweet, her body soft, practiced. "Rowan," she whispered, resting against the edge of the table, her tone laced with seduction. "Please, help me." She leaned closer. One delicate hand slid onto my shoulder. Her lashes lowered. Her voice a breathy murmur. "Rowan, you still love me, don't you?" Her fingers traced the knot of my tie, slow and deliberate, while her lips hovered just inches from my ear. "I never loved Tyler," she whispered. "I only did what I had to do, for the company, for us." "Rowan," she breathed. "You know you've always been the only one." Then. Smack. My hand struck her face with the force of 5 years of betrayal. She crashed to the floor, stunned. Her hand flew to her cheek, eyes wide with disbelief. She looked up at me, completely unprepared. As if it had never occurred to her I might actually fight back. "You make me sick." My voice was low. I stared at her like she was filth. "No more games, Celeste. There was a time I treated you like you were fragile, untouchable. I'd worry if you so much as bruised your knee. I'd lose sleep to make you smile. You were everything to me." I stood slowly, my shadow falling over her. "But you." I pointed to the shattered illusion of a woman on the floor. "You took my heart like it was garbage. Like it was nothing. And now?" I stepped closer. "You think batting your lashes and whispering my name will undo what you did?" My words cut like ice, sharp and final. "One word for you, Celeste." I leaned down just enough for her to hear it, clear and cold. "Delusional." Celeste's face went ghostly pale. Her hands trembled as she covered her cheeks, voice cracking under the weight of her unraveling world. "Rowan," she whispered, broken. "People make mistakes. Can't you just forgive me?" I looked at her for a long moment. Then let out a quiet, bitter laugh. "Forgive you?" I stood slowly, walked toward her, and looked down at the woman I once would have given everything for. "No," I said, voice low. "Because." I leaned in. "My love died the moment you betrayed me." Something inside her shattered. The last flicker of hope extinguished in her eyes, replaced by pure desperation. She clenched her jaw, a wild glint rising in her expression. Then, snapping, she lunged for the divorce papers, ripped them to shreds with trembling hands, and screamed. "I won't sign. You hear me? I won't divorce you. If you want to leave me, you'll have to kill me." Her voice was shrill, deranged. But I only looked at her with quiet, absolute calm. And with a subtle wave of my hand toward the door, I simply said, "Then I'll see you in court." She froze. And I turned away without another word. Later, my assistant filled me in on the rest. After Celeste's company collapsed, she and Tyler had a massive blowout. He sold off the shares she'd given him and disappeared, taking what little cash she had left. Police caught up with him at the penthouse of an older, wealthier woman, halfway through what looked like a very expensive game. The arrest made headlines. As for Howard, after losing the town's tourism deal, he became the pariah of Bayfield. No job. No allies. Every morning he opened his door to a fresh round of rotten eggs, cow dung, or worse. His political career ended in disgrace. Eventually, the family packed up and vanished from the town they once thought they owned. And me? I never looked back. That evening, my father asked me to return to the estate for dinner with my grandfather. I hadn't expected to see her standing outside the gates. Celeste. No makeup. No polished poise. Just pale skin, puffy eyes, and a rawness I hadn't seen in years. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. The moment I stepped out of the car, she ran toward me, tears spilling again as if someone had flipped a switch. "Rowan," she choked, her voice thick with emotion. "I was wrong. Tyler's a lying bastard, he took everything from me. He drained the accounts, the company's collapsing, I don't know what to do." She grabbed my sleeve, holding on tightly like I was a life raft. I didn't move. But my voice was cold. "Let go. I didn't want my father, or anyone inside, to get the wrong idea. I didn't want even a whisper of rumor that I'd taken her back." But Celeste didn't stop. She kept crying, clinging harder. "My years of work, everything's gone. I lost everything, Rowan. Please, please, just help me, I'm begging you." I stepped back just enough to look her dead in the eye. "My life," I said evenly, "is no longer any of your business. Leave. Now." My tone wasn't angry. It was something worse. Detached. Final. She froze. But then the desperation surged again. "No, no, Rowan," she cried, shaking her head violently. "I know you still love me, I know it. We can go back. We can start over. I swear I'll change, I'll be better, I'll love you like you deserve." Her voice pitched into something shrill, manic. But I just stared at her. And let out a cold, humorless laugh. "Your love," I said, "means nothing to me now." Her face crumpled. Because she knew I meant every word. But it was like she didn't hear a word I said. Celeste kept rambling, caught in her own desperate fantasy. "No, no, that's not true," she said, shaking her head furiously. "You do love me, I know you do. This is just because your father doesn't approve, right? That's it, isn't it?" Suddenly, she reached for my wrist again, gripping it tightly. "Let me inside. I'll talk to him. I'll make him understand. He'll come around, he has to." I looked down at her tear-swollen eyes, at the way she clung to me like I was the last rung on a ladder she was sliding off of. My expression darkened. And when I spoke, my voice turned glacial. "That used to be true," I said. Her expression faltered. "What do you mean?" I gently pulled my wrist from her grasp. Then looked her square in the eyes, each word deliberate and heavy as stone. "If that day, instead of announcing your engagement to Tyler, you had simply introduced me to your parents. If you'd stood beside me without shame, I would have brought you into this house. And my father would have accepted you as my wife." Her face crumbled. The words hit her like a lightning strike to the chest. Everything she had gambled on, every lie she had told, boiled down to that moment. And she'd chosen wrong. Completely, irrevocably wrong. Before she could respond, the estate gates opened with a soft mechanical hum. From inside, a tall woman emerged, poised, graceful, her long, wavy hair cascading over one shoulder. She wore a cream cashmere coat, heels clicking lightly on the stone path. Her voice was warm and bright as she called out, "Rowan." I turned toward her with a faint smile. Celeste's entire body went rigid. Her voice was sharp and alarmed. "Who is she?" She stared at the woman, stunning, elegant, radiant, like she was looking at a threat she hadn't seen coming. Because in truth, she was. I didn't respond to Celeste. I didn't have to. I turned away and looked at the woman walking toward me, her heels clicking lightly over the stone path. "You're back early," I said softly. Before she could answer, Celeste's voice rose again, laced with jealousy and fury. "So that's it, huh?" she snapped. "You couldn't wait to toss me aside for her?" I opened my mouth to reply. But the woman slipped her arm through mine before I could speak, smiling sweetly as she turned to face Celeste. And you are? Celeste folded her arms, jaw tight. I'm Rowan's wife, she snapped. I sighed. No. You're about to be my ex-wife. The woman's smile deepened. She pulled me closer, just enough to make a point. Oh, she said with a knowing nod. So you're the one who cheated and still can't take a hint. Celeste's face flushed crimson, her fists clenched at her sides. But the woman didn't flinch. Instead, she tugged on my arm and said cheerfully, "Grandpa's waiting for dinner. Next time, maybe don't bring stray animals to the gate." Celeste exploded. Who the hell are you calling a stray, you bitch? The woman didn't even blink. She looked toward the security team by the entrance and said casually, "What are you standing around for? Show her out. Grandpa doesn't like noise." The guards nodded and stepped forward immediately. Celeste froze. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. This woman could command the Kingsford family guards. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Wait, you're letting her give orders? Who even is she? She whipped back to me, voice cracking. So what, I made mistakes, but you weren't exactly a saint, Rowan. You think you didn't mess around behind my back? We're both guilty. So why not call it even and move on? Her voice trailed off behind us as the guards led her away. I didn't look back. Just lowered my eyes briefly, to the hand still gripping my arm. All right, I said flatly, she's gone. You can let go now. But she didn't. Not yet. I barely had time to breathe before Chloe twisted around and pinched the inside of my arm, hard. Don't give me that look, she huffed. I just saved your dignity, and you're acting like I embarrassed you. Same old Chloe. That short fuse of hers hadn't changed a bit. She'd barely been home the past few years, ever since graduating college, she'd taken off to become a travel influencer. Hopping from city to city, mountain to sea, living life through a lens. Now she was back, loud as ever. Grandpa was tired of waiting for you, so he sent me down. And that's the kind of girl you used to fall for, she said, wrinkling her nose. Wow. Seriously underwhelming. I didn't respond right away. Truth was, I couldn't even argue. Celeste and I met in college. What I'd once loved about her was how she reminded me of wild grass, stubborn, resilient, soft around the edges but impossible to uproot. But somewhere along the way, that version of her had vanished. I couldn't even pinpoint when it happened. We stayed at the estate for a couple of days. Chloe insisted I go shopping with her. Bonding time, she said. But the moment we hit the city, she was live-streaming everything, holding up outfits, twirling in sunglasses, and shoving bags into my arms like I was her personal assistant. Rowan, hold this, no, that one too. Smile. You're on camera. I should have known better. I wasn't bonding. I was working. And then, like clockwork, Celeste appeared. Dressed up. Heels, tight dress, heavy makeup. But no amount of contour could hide the exhaustion beneath her eyes. She marched up to us and pointed a trembling finger at Chloe. Her voice was sharp, almost hysterical. You said you'd only ever love me. And now you're here carrying her bags? Buying her clothes? I blinked. Chloe turned slowly, lifting an eyebrow like a queen about to toss someone from her throne. And I sighed, already exhausted. Chloe looked entirely unbothered. She gave me a quick side glance, then silently angled her phone so that the live stream now had a clear shot of Celeste's tear-streaked, furious face. I pressed my fingers against the bridge of my nose, sighing. Celeste, I said flatly, that promise only ever applied if you loved me. I told you, once you betrayed our marriage, it was over. She flinched. Even now, some part of her still expected me to back down. I only cheated because Tyler sweet-talked me into it, she stammered, her voice cracking. I got tricked, Rowan. I know it was wrong. I've said I'm sorry, over and over. I don't love you anymore, I cut in coldly. Just sign the divorce papers. Stop dragging this out. Celeste's eyes welled again, but the guilt was fading, replaced by indignation. So that's it, she snapped. 7 years together, and you just throw it away? You want it to be made public, right? She added bitterly. Fine. I'll go public. But you're not walking away just like that. Not after everything. I shook my head slowly. Same old Celeste. She always thought an apology could reset everything, wipe the slate clean like the past never happened. But if she could change, she would have changed a long time ago. And she hadn't. Now, cornered again, she turned her rage toward Chloe. This is what it's really about, isn't it? She growled, pointing an accusatory finger. You just want to divorce me so you can run off with her. I won't let that happen. Before I could step between them, Celeste lunged forward, arm raised, long manicured nails aimed straight at Chloe's face. Bad move. Chloe had spent the last 2 years training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu while backpacking through South America. In under 3 seconds, she had Celeste flipped and pinned on the pavement, face down, one arm locked behind her back. Celeste gasped, completely stunned. Chloe leaned in, cool as ever. Oh, right, she said with a bright smile. Did I mention this is all live? She held her phone up so Celeste could see the screen, her image, wild-eyed and humiliated, streaming in real time to thousands of viewers. Celeste's face drained of color. The comment section was a flood of outrage and disbelief. Is that Celeste? WTF? She's attacking people in public? Didn't she cheat on her husband? And she's mad? That's Rowan's ex-wife? Yikes. Girl, log off and take a nap. It was a total PR meltdown. And Chloe? She was loving every second. Backed into a corner, Celeste snapped. From the ground, still panting, hair disheveled, she screamed at Chloe. You bitch. You stole my husband, don't act innocent. Then she turned on me again, eyes blazing. Rowan. Tell me the truth, don't you dare lie. You knew her before, didn't you? I folded my arms, calm as ever, staring down at her like she was just another footnote in a chapter long closed. I did, I said evenly. I've known her for years. Celeste's face contorted. Her voice was pure venom now. So you want to talk about cheating? How many times did you sneak around with her behind my back, huh? The live stream chat started spinning. The crowd, so recently skewering Celeste, was now veering into chaos. Wait, he knew her before? They both cheated then? No way, they're both trash. It was the kind of public moment that could flip on a dime. Until Chloe, cool as ever, pulled a card from her coat pocket and held it up to the camera. State of California, valid ID, she said, then turned and waved it in Celeste's face. My name is Chloe Kingsford, she said clearly. Rowan is my brother. Let's all get that straight. The chat exploded. Gelamuo. You mean she attacked his sister? Celeste is done. She really fumbled the bag and embarrassed herself globally? Celeste's face went slack. Her mouth opened slightly, like she couldn't find the words. You're his big sister? Chloe raised an eyebrow, still holding her phone, and finally released Celeste's arm. Celeste immediately tried to backpedal. Sis, I didn't know, I swear, if I'd known you were his sister. Chloe stood up slowly, brushing invisible dust from her coat. Don't call me sis, she said, arching an eyebrow. Didn't sound like that when you called me a bitch 2 minutes ago. And I know the live stream heard that loud and clear. Celeste's face flushed deep red. She bit her lip, then turned those teary eyes toward me again, her last card. "I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. I shouldn't have doubted you. I was just scared. I cared too much. I didn't respond. Didn't look at her. I turned, gently placed a hand on Chloe's back, and started walking away. And this time, I didn't look back. For the past few days, every news outlet had been flooded with our story. Everyone knew now. Celeste had walked away from a 7-year relationship to chase her assistant. Everyone knew she'd hidden her marriage. Everyone knew the truth. The public fallout was brutal. The final blow landed squarely on her company. Celeste's business declared bankruptcy. Her debts piled high. Her reputation hit bottom. A few days later, she finally said the words I'd been waiting for. She agreed to sign the divorce papers. She asked to meet one last time. I found her sitting by the window in a quiet cafe downtown. Gone were the designer labels and perfectly styled hair. She wore a faded button-down and a simple, ankle-length skirt. No makeup. No jewelry. She looked tired. Not just physically, but hollow. Like someone who'd been emptied out. As I approached, she didn't stand, didn't wave. She looked up slowly, her eyes flickering with uncertainty and something that almost resembled fear. "Rowan," she said softly. Her voice was hoarse, fragile. "I've decided to leave Bayfield. For good. I won't be coming back." I nodded. Felt nothing. No ache. No anger. Just acceptance. She dropped her gaze to the table, fingers tracing the edge of her empty coffee cup. After a long pause, she spoke again. "This place is close to our old university," she said quietly. "Do you want to walk through it with me? Just once?" She looked up again. "After that, I'll sign." We walked. The campus was still the same. Students hurrying between buildings, laughter echoing from the quad. All that youth. All that possibility. Celeste led the way, taking us from the old lecture hall to the field by the library. As we walked, she spoke softly, threading memories into the silence. "Remember this," she said, pointing to a cracked window on the second floor of an aging classroom building. "Our first class together. You sat in the back row, arms crossed, pretending to be too cool to care," she said, smiling faintly. "You didn't even notice me." I didn't answer. Just gave a faint smile, neither warm nor cold. She chuckled softly. But her eyes were sad. Her voice was light, but her gaze held the weight of everything we'd lost. The laughter. The promises. The future that never came to be. She talked the whole way. At first, her voice was steady, almost hopeful. But as we walked, her words slowed. Softened. Eventually, her sentences dissolved into murmurs. Half to herself, half to the wind. "Rowan, we used to be so good together," she whispered. "Is there really no way back?" I didn't answer right away. Because I knew why she'd brought me here. Why she walked me through every hallway, every bench, every corner where our young love had once bloomed. It was her last attempt. A Hail Mary pass, thrown into the past. But for me, the past was gone. Dead and buried. I don't look back. So I finally said what needed to be said, my voice calm, but firm. "Celeste, we can't go back. Not anymore." She froze. And then the dam broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks, sudden and raw. 7 years, she choked. 7 goddamn years. I didn't flinch. Didn't speak. Just pulled a crisp, newly printed set of divorce papers from my coat pocket. Her shoulders sagged. Her whole body seemed to crumple inward. She signed in silence. Each stroke of the pen a small surrender. When she finished the last page, I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. I never heard from Celeste again. The next time her name appeared in my life was through a headline. Tyler had served a year in prison. The day he got out, Celeste found him. And stabbed him. Over a dozen times. He died on the scene. She was arrested immediately, sentenced to life in prison. I closed the article. Sat for a moment in silence. Then I looked at the stack of files on my desk, the remnants of her collapsed company. I instructed my assistant to dismantle it. Strip it down. Erase the name from every sign, every letterhead, every contract. Celeste was gone. And my new life, clean, clear, untethered, had finally begun.